You know, we often talk about music as a form of escapism. We put on headphones to block out the world, but every once in a while, you stumble across a band where the music isn't an escape, it's a confrontation. It's a direct response to something visceral, something real.
That is such a perfect way to frame today's discussion, because the band we are looking at today, HEAVENQUEEN, didn't start in a garage because some friends wanted to be famous. It started in a moment of absolute darkness.
Exactly. We're going back to 2012. The founder, Lavero, initiated this project as a reaction to a tragic situation. The biography mentions a specific promise she made in that moment. It's almost cinematic, isn't it? The idea that art is born from a promise made during trauma.
It is. And what's fascinating is the gestation period. This wasn't an overnight success story where she wrote a song and went viral the next day. She spent over a decade working on this material. It reminds me of that concept of slow cooking your art. She started with poems, literally just words on a page, and let the melodies grow out of them without any strict musical rules.
That poetry-first approach really explains their sound, doesn't it? When you listen to their debut album, which finally dropped in late 2023, it doesn't follow the standard verse-chorus-verse structure of commercial metal. It feels more narrative.
Completely. And speaking of the sound, we have to talk about the genre, or the lack of one. They call it metal, sure, but if you look at the DNA of the music, you've got heavy rock, punk, acoustic ballads, and then suddenly a tango or a waltz.
It sounds chaotic on paper, doesn't it? Like mixing oil and water. But it works because the foundation is emotion. Lavero has this incredibly diverse background, classical violin for years, opera training, musical theatre. She was even a finalist in Song Talent of Europe. When you have that level of technical proficiency, you can bend genres without breaking them.
That classical discipline is the glue. But let's be honest, a project like this can stay in the bedroom studio phase forever if you don't find the right partners. That seems to be the turning point for HEAVENQUEEN, the arrival of Dima Belf in December 2022.
Dima seems like the catalyst. The bio describes him as this powerhouse from Moscow, composer, producer, multi-instrumentalist. He joins the band, and suddenly things go from working on it to fast forward.
It's the classic producer meets visionary, dynamic. Lavero had the soul of the music, the lyrics, the melodies she'd been nurturing for 10 years. Dima brought the technical architecture. He's toured with bands like Imperial Age and Stigmatic Chorus, so he knows how to take a raw idea and polish it into a product that can stand on an international stage.
I love the image of the two of them locking themselves in a house for a couple of days just to get the vocals recorded. That intensity really shines through on the record. He didn't just play bass and keys, he elevated the entire production. It's rare to find someone who can respect the original vision while simultaneously pushing it to a higher level.
It is rare, and that partnership allowed them to finally release those first singles, HEAVENQUEEN and Fires of Beltane, in early 2023. The reception was strong, which I think validated their no-rules approach. But let's dive a bit deeper into the lyrical content. We mentioned the tragedy at the start, but the album covers some incredibly heavy ground.
It does. They don't shy away from the taboo. We're talking about subjects like incest, narcissistic abuse, premature death, things that most pop metal bands wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole.
But that's the alchemy I mentioned earlier. They take these ugly, painful realities like a last sick bed and wrap them in this lush, beautiful musical packaging. It's almost disarming. You're listening to a beautiful melody, and then you realize the lyrics are about surviving abuse.
It's not all darkness though. There's a balance. They also touch on love, lust, and the refusal to give up. It feels like a complete human experience, not just a sad album.
Right. And to deliver that kind of emotional range live, You need a rhythm section that understands dynamics. You can't just hammer away at double bass speed for an hour if the song is a waltz based on a poem.
That brings us to Velislav Kazakov, the drummer. This guy is young, but his resume is stacked. He's played Wacken open air. That's the holy grail for metal musicians.
The story of how he joined is great. He met Lavero years ago as an interviewer, kept in touch, and eventually, when the spot opened up, he just fit. He actually re-recorded the drums for the album to give it that live feel. It makes a huge difference compared to programmed drums. You can hear the breath in the rhythm.
And then there's the guitar situation. They had some lineup changes, which is normal for ambitious bands, but they landed on Kevin de Brouwer. He started as a fill-in for the UK tour, right?
Exactly. He stepped in and the chemistry was instant. The bio says it felt like he had always been there. Now he's the lead guitarist and is even co-writing for the second album. It's interesting because he shares those duties with Dima now. It seems like the creative circle is widening.
It's a go big or go home mentality. Kevin brings that energy. And frankly, for a band that mixes symphonic elements with raw emotion, you need a guitarist who can do more than just shred. You need nuance.
Speaking of nuance, I think it's important to note that they are already looking ahead. The first album is out. They've done the EU tour, the UK tour supporting Anna Chiara, but they aren't resting. The final tracks of the debut album are described as a glimpse into the future,
which apparently involves even more mythological and historical inspiration. They are building a world, not just a discography.
And they are looking to expand that world, quite literally. They are currently hunting for a rhythm guitarist to turn their string duo into a trio.
That's a crucial spot to fill. They want someone who can do backing vocals too. Given how layered their sound is, adding another live guitar and voice would make their live shows massive.
It's a tall order, though. You have to fit into a group that is driven by deep friendship and high ambition. This isn't a hired gun situation. They want a family member.
So, looking at the big picture here, we have a band born from a promise in 2012, fueled by classical training, ignited by a Russian producer, driven by a Bulgarian drummer, and energized by a Belgian guitarist. It's a truly international project.
It is. And I think that cultural blending contributes to that world music vibe they mention. They use global sounds to guide the emotion of the songs. It's not just Dutch metal or Russian metal. It's human metal.
Human metal. I like that. It fits. You know, listening to their story, it really highlights how much tenacity is required in this industry. Lavero had serious health issues that stopped her from taking early opportunities like that role in the musical Hair. She could have just given up.
She really could have. She had offers for solo work, studio backing vocals, and she had to turn them down. That has to be devastating for a performer. But HEAVENQUEEN feels like the redemption arc. It's the project where she finally gets to say everything she wanted to say on her own terms.
And doing it with a team that respects that history. Dima, Velislav, Kevin, they all seem to understand that they aren't just playing songs. They are facilitating a vision that is deeply personal to her.
That's the key to a great band. Technical skill is one thing, and Dima clearly has that in spades, playing basically every instrument known to man, but emotional intelligence is what keeps a band together.
Before we wrap up, I want to touch on the future aspect one more time. They mentioned the second album is already in the works, with Velislav preparing drums and Kevin writing emotional tracks. What do you think we can expect from the next phase of HEAVENQUEEN?
I think we're going to see a more cohesive sound. The first album was a collection of 10 years of ideas, a compilation of a life's journey. The second album will be written as a band. With Kevin's input, Dima's production established from day one, and Velislav's drumming integrated from the start. I think it's going to be heavier, but also more intricate.
and probably even more theatrical. With their background in opera and revues and the mythological themes they are teasing, I wouldn't be surprised if their live shows evolve into something very visual.
Absolutely. They already treat their music as a packaging for emotions. The live stage is just the next layer of that packaging.
It's a fascinating journey, from an attic studio to touring the UK and EU. It proves that if the emotion is real, the audience will find you.
And that you're never too late to fulfill a promise you made to yourself.
That's a beautiful thought to end on. If you're a musician listening, maybe this is your sign to pick up that project you shelved 10 years ago. And if you're a rhythm guitarist with a passion for symphonic metal, well, you know who to call.
Exactly. Go big or go home.
Thanks for diving into this with me today. It's been a real pleasure exploring the world of HEAVENQUEEN.
The pleasure was mine. A truly inspiring story.
Until next time, keep listening.